So what I'm about to say makes me the bad guy. Many people will say that my views on this makes me transphobic and I'm contributing to hate speech and I'm a bigot and all kinds of horrible things.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
Okay, and I think that's why the cultural narrative got so popular. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do with this channel, basically, is challenge popular cultural narratives that I believe are extremely harmful for our society. One of those narratives is gender-affirming care, specifically for children.
Why are you gay?
Who says I'm gay?
You are gay.
Many members of the LGBTQ, I think it's IA plus now or something, they will tell you that if your child approaches you, if it's a boy and they say they feel like a girl, or if it's a girl and they say they feel like a boy, you're not supposed to question this at all. You're not supposed to talk to them about it or talk them out of it or even try to pursue any sort of therapeutic treatment of any sort. You're just supposed to automatically affirm whatever this child is saying that they identify as. So this is where I feel like it's very harmful because, look, the thing is, I believe that all people should be able to do whatever they feel like they should do. But the thing is, when you're infringing on my right to be able to raise my children the way that I see fit, for them to have the best chance in their future and grow up to be a productive member of society, I believe it's up to me. And they'll tell you, and I've had this discussion with many supporters of this community and many trans people themselves. And they'll say, look, is the child your property? Do you own this child? And I would say that the child is my responsibility. Okay, it is my job to develop them and mold them the way that I see fit that's going to give them the best chance possible. And one of the things also I've noticed about these discussions that I have with these supporters of the community or members of the community, whenever you mention that there are people who have undergone these transitions, you know, and already had surgery and already started injecting testosterone or like altering their hormones, you know, artificially, that a lot of people later do regret it. And it's one of the biggest regrets that they have in their life. One of the people that gained a lot of attention for addressing this issue was conservative commentator Matt Walsh. When these people go through these transitional phases and then later regret it, they all talk about the cultural push, almost as if the culture around them almost bullied them into believing they had to transition in some sort of way. One of the reasons they regret it so much is because you start really messing with your body, and then when you later come to your senses, you can't always undo those changes. This is a news segment about Matt Walsh and him addressing this issue and a lot of the backlash that he got for it. Because the thing is, you will get a lot of backlash for it. The thing is, if you know that if you have an opinion such as mine or Matt Walsh's here, that you are a bigot, you contribute to hate speech, you're a transphobe, it's a lot of horrible things. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure to have to conform to this ideology.
The conservative commentator who set off a debate about transgender kids in Tennessee faced Democratic lawmakers today. They questioned his credibility and the evidence to back up a proposed ban on gender-affirming care for minors. Here's News 2's Adam Minzer.
They're not affirming the child, they're affirming confusion.
The man who led this rally outside the state capitol on the inside today, fighting for a bill to ban gender-affirming procedures for minors.
She does not need hormone injections and scalpels. She needs and deserves to be protected from those child-abusing quacks and soulless vultures who wish to exploit her confusion for their own gain.
And Democrats took the chance to ask him why this legislation's needed.
I think your original article, blog post, or tweet or whatever kind of started this firestorm. So I'm trying to figure out, you know, where we need to look for these surgeries.
My evidence is the healthcare provider's own words.
In response, Matt Walsh mentioned Vanderbilt Medical Center. According to a letter the hospital sent lawmakers, no patients have received genital procedures. And they say an average of 5 a year have received gender-affirming procedures with parental consent after the age of 16. Democrats also questioned Walsh's credibility on the subject.
Well, my background that qualifies me to speak to this is that I'm a human being with a brain and common sense, and I have a soul. And so therefore, I think it's a really bad idea to chemically castrate children. That is my experience. Also, I did, now it's true, I didn't go to college, but I did go to school long enough to learn how to read, so I can read the data for myself, and that's exactly what I've done.
For what purpose do you conduct your research and use this brain of yours?
I use it for the purpose of trying to protect children from being castrated and mutilated.
You don't use it to get clicks on your publication?
Well, are you using it right now to try to get clicks with this interaction?
So look, I don't know how it's not common sense that we shouldn't let children start transitioning to the opposite gender. Okay, this is completely ridiculous. It's crazy that we even have this issue in this country. The parents allow their children to do this, and actually they promote this. They take their children to these clinics to start receiving injections or hormone blockers, and actually allow them to start having surgeries to transition to the opposite sex. What are we doing? Well, how did we get here? This blows my mind. And look, the thing is, there are many cases of children or even young adults that go through these transitional surgeries, whether it's injections, hormone blockers, whatever it is, and they regret it later in life. And the thing is, a lot of the times the damage is already done. This is one of those cases. Let's check this out.
I was born biologically female. I began transitioning and taking hormones when I was 18 years old. Growing up, I couldn't pinpoint what my issues were, and then I realized that it might be a gender issue. When I turned 18, I did go to Planned Parenthood. I just stated that I had gender dysphoria, and they gave me testosterone a week later. Before I went on hormone therapy, I wasn't required to see any therapist or any sort of a doctor at all. So about a year and a half after I was on hormones, I decided to see a therapist about getting approval for top surgery. I walked in on one appointment for half an hour, and then she emailed my insurance for approval, just like that. Even at this point, when I was passing as a man, I still had these doubts in the back of my mind that said, what if you're wrong? What if you made a mistake? In the end, I decided not to do the surgery. At that point that I decided to detransition and live my life as a woman again. Even as an adult, it took me a long time to figure out who I was and who I wanted to be. Kids especially need to see a therapist before making any sort of permanent medical decisions like going on hormone blockers and surgeries especially. I mean, they don't even know what they want for dinner the next day, let alone what gender they are. The biggest mistake that I made was that I did not get the right amount of therapy or medical advice needed. These days, if you tell a parent if their child thinks that they might be transgender or has gender dysphoria, to wait and really consider it and maybe seek other therapy, you're just seen as transphobic now because you're not accepting people. I'm not anti-trans at all. I support the trans community very much, but I also support medical responsibility.
If you question this at all, you get labeled really quickly, correct?
You do, immediately as transphobic.
Why do you think that is?
I think that a lot of the transgender community, they push so much for acceptance that when you immediately, or anytime you start to question them, even if it's out of the goodness of your heart, just trying to make sure that they're making the right decision, anything that goes against their narrative is just immediately labeled as transphobic.
After you started to transition, how else did you begin to change your life to live as a man?
I had changed my name. I started wearing a binder. I even moved cities because at the time I was very hesitant to actually come out to coworkers. So I moved about 4 hours away, got a completely different job, and introduced myself as a trans man.
Okay. And what happened when you began to schedule time to get a double mastectomy?
I haven't had any top surgeries, but I did get approved for it.
Okay, that's what it is. You got approved for it.
I did. I got approved. And how that worked, it was scarily easy to do because I had just called a therapist and I had scheduled one appointment, for a 30-minute session to talk about it. And I essentially walked in. I said, I identify as transgender and I want to get top surgery. And we chatted for a bit, maybe for half an hour. And at the end of the session, she wrote me an approval letter to send to my insurance. And then I got approved just like that.
Wow. When you first started, you went in, you said to Planned Parenthood.
Yes.
And they gave you testosterone immediately.
Yeah, I essentially just made a phone call and said, I want to transition. And it was immediately given. I got a prescription and went to pick it up a week later.
Did they ask you questions? Did they do any psychological testing? Did they ask you why? What was your motive?
It was completely self-diagnosed. Well, self-diagnosed. I claimed that I had gender dysphoria and I wanted to transition, and they didn't really ask me any questions about it. I just called them and I said, when can I get this? And they just said they needed to write me a prescription for it and send it. And that's essentially
you had no proof that you were gender dysphoria. You didn't.
Yeah, I didn't talk to anyone about it. Nobody medically professionally. I had just looked up. I did some trans research, I guess, into the transgender community and everybody online, and they just seemed so happy and successful. And at the time, I didn't see any information on detransition or any the negatives about it. And so I kind of got completely wrapped into that.
And that's the information they don't want you to have. They don't really want you to have the information on the people who now have to go through detransitioning treatments, regret going through these transitional, operations. and altering their hormones and stuff. But the thing is, there's so many cases out there, just like this one right here, and nobody's talking about it. Hey, this is a brand new channel. I have 0 subscribers, so please subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment. All the engagement, it helps. Like I said, it's a brand new channel, okay? Share this video with anybody that you think could use this information, and I appreciate all of your support. Thank you.